As I mentioned at the beginning, my name is Andy White. I'm with PEN America. PEN America is here tonight because our mission is to unite writers and their allies, and if you're here tonight, you're probably in one of those two camps, I'm guessing, to celebrate creative expression and defend the rights that make it possible. On the latter half, all right, yeah, come on. Well, happily take the applause because, of course, we need all the support and all the fighters that we can get. On the latter half of that stuff, the defend the rights that make it possible, we defend writers of all kinds and we fight censorship of all kinds. There's a lot of work right now that we're doing on the front of fighting book bans, the scourge that is sweeping the nation. Our basic premise is that writers should be able to write what they want to write and readers should be able to read what they want to read. Seems like an antiquated notion, but we stand by it nonetheless. The first half of that, the celebrate creative expression part, is really why we are here tonight. Because there's this great novel called Train Dreams by Dennis Johnson. And it was turned, as you just saw, into a really, really beautiful, beautiful film. And so it makes sense that we're here to talk about that, and that I'm here to represent PEN America, to interview the amazing creative team who helped make all of that possible. Immediately to my right, for now, anyway, to be joined by others shortly. Okay, I know I have my glasses somewhere. Thank you. Thank you so much, because this, would just be a nightmare. We've come to a quick standstill. Will Janowitz is here to my right. Producer of film, is an American actor and writer for film and television. He is best known for playing Meadow Soprano's fiancé Finn DiTrolio on The Sopranos, Jaime Weiss on Boardwalk Empire, and Trevor in Bikini Moon. Janowitz was born here in New York City and trained at the University of North Carolina School of the Arts. He's appeared in various independent features, including Backseat, Bristol Boys. In 2009, Janowitz joined the ensemble cast of Ang Lee's Taking Woodstock, and that same summer he went to Marietta, Georgia to play the role of Leo Frank in The People vs. Leo Frank. In 2014, Janowitz played the character Alex in the film H, directed by Rania Attia and Daniel Garcia. H premiered at the 71st Venice International Film Festival and went on to play at the 2015 Sundance Film Festival. In The American Experience episode Murder of a President, Janowitz depicted Charles Guiteau, who shot President James A. Garfield. In 2019, Janowitz acted on Chicago PD, me too, in the Brotherhood episode as Mark Rollins. Janowitz was the co-writer and appeared as the priest in a Chris Pine production called Dula. In the metafilm comedy short Proof of Concept, Janowitz acted alongside Richard Kind. It premiered at the 2023 Tribeca Film Festival. Please welcome Will Janowitz. Director Clint Bentley, Academy Award nominee Clint Bentley, is a writer, director, producer whose debut directorial feature Jockey premiered in competition at the 2021 Sundance Film Festival, where Clifton Collins Jr. was awarded the Special Jury Prize for Best Actor for his role. Bentley and his longtime collaborator Greg Cuidar co-wrote and produced the film, which went on to enjoy further global festival success, with screenings at TIFF, AFI, and over 30 festivals worldwide, winning the Audience Award at the AFI Film Festival. Jockey also received awards recognition, including 2 Independent Spirit Award nominations, plus the National Board of Review named it one of the top 10 independent films of 2021. Bentley and his producing partner Cuidar recently launched their production company Ethos to develop their own original, individual, and joint projects, and to champion artists under the innovative and equitable financing model that they pioneered on Jockey, and further developed with Sing Sing. Bentley co-wrote and produced Sing Sing with Cuidar, which earned them an Academy Award nomination for Best Original Screenplay. Sing Sing received a further 2 Academy Award nominations, with one for lead actor, Coleman Domingo, as well as numerous Golden Globe, Independent Spirit Award, BAFTA, and Critics' Choice Award nominations. Both AFI and the National Board of Review named Sing Sing in their top film of the year lists. Bentley's previous work includes co-writing and producing Transpicos, which won the Audience Award at the 2016 South by Southwest Film Festival, while Movie Maker magazine named Bentley and Cuidar on their Screenwriters to Watch list. In addition to his film work, Bentley received a 2026 Pushcart Prize for his short story Karen, that first appeared in the Iowa Review. His fiction has also appeared in the Baltimore Review. Obviously a literary kind of fella. Please welcome Clint Bentley. Edgerton. And an acclaimed Australian actor, writer, and filmmaker. Born in Blacktown, New South Wales, a graduate of the European Drama School. I think I said that right.
Yeah.
Yep. He began his career in stage and screen before gaining international attention as Owen Lars in Star Wars Episodes 2 and Episode 3. Over the years, he has starred in a wide range of films, including The Great Gatsby, Zero Dark 30, Warrior, Black Mass, Loving, which is astonishing, for which he earned a Golden Globe nomination, and The Gift, which also marked his directorial debut. Edgerton's versatility extends to voice work, stage performances, and co-writing Netflix's The King. Most recently, Edgerton starred in Apple TV's Dark Matter and Charlie Pollinger's The Plague, which premiered at Condon. He also produced the award-winning Sundance documentary Daughters and appeared in The Boys in the Boat, directed by George Clooney. He has also wrapped production on Netflix's Australian limited series Boy Swallows Universe and continues to take on projects as both actor and producer. Edgerton's filmography is marked by collaborations with top-tier directors including Ridley Scott, Ron Howard, David Lowery, and Jeff Nichols. Notable past roles include 13 Lives, The Stranger, Master Gardener, and the Emmy-winning Amazon series The Underground Railroad. A frequent contributor to Australian cinema and theater, he continues to split his time between Australia and London, maintaining a dynamic presence across film, television, and stage. Ooh, the voice is Bluey, too.
Huh?
Bluey.
Yeah.
And Irish actress Kerry Condon has earned global acclaim across film and television. Throughout her decades-long career, she is best known for her award-winning tour in Martin McDonagh's The Banshees of Inisherin. She won Best Supporting Actress at the 2023 BAFTAs and received an Academy Award nomination. Condon recently starred as the female lead in Warner Brothers' record-breaking sports drama F1 opposite Brad Pitt, Javier Bardem, and Damson Idris. Her wide-ranging credits include reprising her fan-favorite role as Tony Stark's AI assistant Friday in multiple Marvel blockbusters, co-starring in McDonough's Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and appearing in films such as Angela's Ashes, The Last Station, Dreamland, and In the Land of Saints and Sinners. She also recently wrapped production on Pressure, directed by Anthony Maris, and portrayed Farah in Star Wars' Skeleton Crew for Disney+. On television, she received critical praise in HBO's Rome, AMC's Better Call Saul, The Walking Dead, and Ray Donovan. On stage, Condon became the youngest actress to play Ophelia with the Royal Shakespeare Company.
That's why I'm exhausted.
And won a Lucille Lortel Award for her performance in McDonagh's The Cripple of Inishmaan. Will, just because I introduced you first, I think I'm going to start with you first. The film is, I would say the novel, actually we talked about this just a second ago, the novel makes for an unlikely adaptation for the screen. I mean, almost all of the major action happenings take place off screen, sort of beyond the edges. It's very internal. I don't know that there's a lot of snappy dialogue. It's not a laugh riot. There's only one explosion and it happens behind a hill. What made you, when you first read the screenplay, what made you feel like, yeah, this can be a successful film?
Yeah, it's decidedly not an easy adaptation. When I read the book, I just thought it was so beautiful and elegiac and haunting, and I was just taken by it and thought maybe somebody else was crazy enough to try to adapt this, and discovered Marissa and Ashley, co-producers on the film, who I worked with, and we endeavored to adapt it, and it wasn't until we found Clint and Greg that we sort of found our way in. But yeah, it is not inherently an easy one, but so many things had to go the right way, including the script. And I think early drafts didn't have the voiceover, and when these guys added that layer, a lot of things clicked, but I don't know if there's an answer to that. I don't know how to answer it. I think it's sort of, there's a bit of alchemy, how it all came together. Yeah.
And the film speaks to the power of mystery, right? I mean, it references mystery and how that can be a force unto itself.
Absolutely.
Clint, you and your longtime collaborator partner, Greg Cuiar, it sounds like you have a very straightforward a mission statement, which is to tell stories of human connection in impossible places. Do I have that right? That's perfect. And is that what drew you to the novel? And to, I guess, is that what first drew you? Were there other aspects that?
I don't know. It's interesting. Greg is very good at catchphrases, and I remember once early on when we were like first making short films together, and we were talking about like what kind of films we want to make, and I went in this long thing of like many sentences and paragraphs long, and he's like stories of human connection in impossible places. I was like, yeah, that's right. That sounds right. But this story, I think it's certainly like, I don't know, it's hard to know sometimes as an artist like what you're drawn to until other people tell you. But with this one, it was the story of Grainier in the book. I mean, the book, as Will said, is beautiful and poetic. But the big thing, I think, in terms of thinking about it, outside of the cinematic possibilities of it, the big thing that drew me in was the story of Grainier. And being able to tell the story as just of a regular guy and a regular person, someone who lives a life that is decidedly it's beautiful and it's big, and he leads this very deep and rich life, and yet at the same time he leaves no real mark on the world. And that really struck me as a possibility. How better can you celebrate the beauty of life than in recognizing its fleetingness? And that was really what really pulled me into it.
But it's an unusual protagonist, right? I mean, in that way, in that he doesn't leave a mark, and most of the time protagonists do. And how interesting that you were compelled.
And again, I think that's what that was what kind of struck me about it, where I thought it was very could be meaningful to do it, is like he's not somebody who fights in some great battle and wins a battle, and he's not somebody who invents an invention that changes the world. He's just a working person who tries to make a good life for himself and with his family, and that reminded me of my dad and my mom and my grandparents and all these people that were very meaningful to me, who led a beautiful and rich life, and yet nobody was ever going to make a plaque for them or make a statue for them. The people who make the world go round, right? All of us.
It's us, right? Yeah, it's all of us. I was just thinking about it, the scene between Claire and Robert near the end, where she says something about death, something like a dead person. I'm going to get this just terribly wrong. So
A dead tree is as important as a living one.
Thank you. All right, we'll let that sit for a second. Joel, the novel often refers to Robert as baffled or confused. A great amazement is a phrase that I picked out as well. It seems like he's sort of in a regular state of bewilderment much of the time, at his own life and what he sees around him. And I'm just wondering if that resonated with you. Is that something that you tapped into?
As well as the perfect guy to play the role. I spend most of my time in that state. In fact, there's a photo of me in Australia leaving the beach, picking things out of my shoes, which I'm carrying, and some journalist someone took a photo of me and said, a bewildered Joel Edgerton, a bewildered homeless looking Joel Edgerton uses his shoe as a wallet.
I thought that's my guy.
There's got no audition needed. Look, I mean, speaking to his ordinariness, who doesn't look around all the time wondering what's it all about and what does it all mean and why are we here and what's going to happen next and what's happening over there and how's it going to affect me? And I think we're all, without realizing it, sometimes not always staring up at the stars, pondering our insignificance, and yet in a day-to-day kind of micro level, I think we are doing that in a less philosophical way, wondering about our place in all things. And I think that's actually one of the beautiful things about the film is, I think we go to the cinema for a couple of reasons, and one of them is to inject ourselves into the imagination that we could be someone extraordinary doing wonderful things and be kings and, you know, generals, as Clint pointed out. But don't we also like to see our own lives reflected on screen? And I'd be able to identify, and most of us, I think, believe we are relatively ordinary, that we're not super special or extraordinary in ways. And hopefully we're okay with that. But I think it's really good to look at a life like that. And while it may not seem so magnificent on the outside, when I look at it, I think, is not falling in love and having children two of the greatest things you could ever possibly experience in life. They're not mandatory things, obviously. If you don't have those things, it's also okay. But then when you have things that are precious, the idea of losing them is one of the greatest fears. So I think the movie is spectacular on a very domestic, personal sense.
Yeah.
And Robert is bewildered by it all.
Yeah, I was struck again too by he seems to be at odds a little bit with being isolated, and you know it's simultaneously where he's most comfortable, and also but he still craves companionship, but is still apart from the rest of the men that he's hanging out with. It's really only with Gladys that he seems at ease finally where he can just relax.
That's me as well.
And there's that great line, which you will quote better than I'm about to, but about it seemed for a long while he'd been pulling hard and was now turned around and facing down the street.
Yeah, that's right. That's good.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Kerry, Claire moves through and inhabits a predominantly male landscape. She is at least when we meet her, she enters sort of the only woman among many men, and really alone among many trees and nature. There's actually the amount of page time in the book is actually quite scant. There's very little, and I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about how you created this character, given how little. I mean, we find out a little bit in the book. She's a widow, but I'm just wondering if you could talk a little bit more about how you created this character.
Yeah, the size of the role wasn't really on my mind because it was really the script as a whole that I thought was so beautiful when I read it, that I was like, oh, I just want to be in this movie. I just want to be a part of this movie because it really moved me to tears when I read it. So I thought, God, if the script made me cry, you know, how beautiful will it be as a movie? And then I had seen Jockey, and I have horses, so I knew how authentic that movie was, and then it was going to be the same director and DP, so I knew it was going to be shot beautifully. And then the lead, Joel, because that like, it's hard to explain why doing less is really difficult. Watching like a character be a passenger in their life, like an observer, and to watch that, you know, it's quite difficult to do as an actor, and I just knew that Joel was going to be perfect for that part. So that's what initially drew me to it. So I was like, I really want to be in this movie. And then the backstory for Claire was kind of on the page. You know, it said that she had a husband. She reveals that to his character. She was a nurse in the war, so I was like, so she's very nurturing, and like a lot wouldn't faze her if she'd been through that, and she traveled. So it was kind of on the page for me. And then if she's in one of those towers for months on end, you know, she's going to have to be kind of zen, isn't she? Or she'd go mad. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And she's in this adaptation, she's a scientist, right? Am I reading that correctly?
Well, she's no work in the watchtower, so she's, you know, part of me is like, Jesus, was I a scientist? And I can't remember. I don't think I was. No, because we had that scene where we did the how do you discover the fire? Do you remember? I mean, it's not in the movie, but we had that old instrument or whatever.
Huh.
Yeah, she's basically like that. They were, you know, to find smoke in the
She
distance.
talks about the glaciers. You know, that's
I think she's
what
just maybe learning.
Okay, all right, okay.
Yeah, like she knew about glaciers because she probably read a lot and was a smart woman or whatever.
She's a know-it-all.
Clearly, yeah, has read a lot of books.
Maybe she
But
is.
she's so spiritual. I mean, this is, you know, Bill Macy's character talks about, you know, it hurts a man's soul, you know, when he's eulogized, it talks, you know, his references describing cutting into a tree that you start a fight with that tree. There's something really philosophical about his character. But then with Claire, what I love is she rounds out this sort of, you know, this our connection to the world and our connection to nature and everything within the world's on the world or within the world's connection to each other and it's partly also kind of like the bed of it is that it's a connection that maybe for me Robert didn't realise he needed to finally get the pit out of his stomach that there was a complicity he felt about the death of his own family and this beautiful, you know, as you read the book or the screenplay or watch the film, you know, of course we're wired to think, oh, Robert's going to find a new romance.
Right.
And it's so excellent that it doesn't head in that direction.
Yeah.
It's about kinship and connection and, you know, I love that.
Yeah, agreed. That would be too easy, too pat.
And you kind of like Robert more because you're like, he
Absolutely.
loves Gladys, and that's
Robert.
yeah, do you know? That was it.
No, Robert, no!
Yeah, you said that the other night that was it for him when they died. Like that was it, you know, and that broke my heart. But that's so true.
It is beautiful.
Oh.
Yeah. Will, you just, Kerry, you just mentioned a scene that didn't make it into the final cut.
And it was a part of the scene at the tower. Yeah, a little bit of it. Yeah.
Were there other scenes that, as producer, broke your heart that they didn't make it in the final?
That's an interesting question. There is one scene that got truncated, very much so. But then there was another phenomenon that happened too that was interesting. That's credit to the filmmakers. The ending of the book is very, very profound and touching, and it involves Wolf Boy, who they found a clever way, Clint found a very clever way to take that moment and add an element, correct me if I'm wrong, but add something in the voiceover that sort of, it didn't diminish it, but it said, oh, that was a sweet thing. He looked like a boy with hair on his face, but that actually in the book served as a very profound moment. But what they ultimately found in the edit and turned into the seminal ending is the plane. And it's just, that was a very interesting metamorphosis, how that all came to be. And it still has the impact that the book has, and it just in an entirely different way. And that's, I think it was somebody talking about another movie at London. We were all just on a whirlwind tour. But yeah, something to the effect of just, you have to take liberties when you're adapting a book. And I think they did such an incredible job adapting this. As you said earlier, it's inherently a difficult adaptation, but they just were able to make it their own in a way that I think would have made Dennis very happy.
Yeah, metamorphosis I think is the right word, because you do have to be true, or you want to be true to the novel itself, right, to the original core of the book, but invariably if you're adapting it to a new medium, you also have to be true to the medium and what it needs. Were there other, can you just talk about the process of adaptation for you and giving yourself liberty to depart from the text and do what you needed to do to make its spirit come alive, even though it wasn't a literal paid,
Yeah, no, you articulated. I thought a lot about it before ever. I'd always wanted to do an adaptation of something, and didn't know what it would be, and thought and looking around at films that worked and films that didn't, thought that like you need, going into this one, it felt very, very important to maintain the spirit of the book and the spirit of what he had done, the spirit of Robert Grenier, but then the rest of it kind of let it go. And I got some advice pretty early on in this adaptation process from a producer who had worked with Robert Altman when he was making Shortcuts, and he gave that advice.
Which is also an adaptation of Raymond Carver.
Correct.
Book of short stories.
Yeah.
Also a Western writer.
And so that was really it. It was really tough at times to what I really wanted to make sure that we did was maintain the spirit of the book, and then also the wooliness of the narrative. That's really, if you haven't read it, it's like a really kind of stream of consciousness book, and kind of bounces all over the place. And it's really, I don't know how he does it and how it all holds together. It's really incredible. And so trying to it felt like it needed to have a narrative shape different than the novella in order to work as a film, or a film that I could make. And yet I didn't want to lose that kind of woolliness, for lack of a better word, where the narrative felt like it could go anywhere at a moment. And that was a really delicate balance to find, not only in the script, but as Will pointed out, throughout the entire edit until we were locking picture.
Mm-hmm.
There was one, just going back to your original question about the scene. Who drinks out of the boot in the book?
Oh yeah, the boomer who drinks out of the boot is
Yeah.
really iconic. That was one of the scenes.
Oh, man.
I mean, it broke my heart to cut things as much as anybody else, but that's an iconic scene in the book, and one of the ones that made me want to do it, and I couldn't wait. And that was a scene that we kept trying to find ways, all of us together in the edit. We shot the whole thing. It's like a 10-minute scene with Clifton Collins Jr., who stars in Jockey, playing that character. And he did a beautiful job, and I just couldn't figure out a way in the edit to make it work. And so now he's about 35 seconds on screen.
Yeah. But it makes me just want to encourage you to read this book, because
It's a good one.
it's a beautiful book, but that scene is so strange and
Yeah.
so weird, and there are a bunch of, like you mentioned, the wolf boy at the end, and it's chock full of great weird stuff. So read it. It's slim, take you 2 hours, but it's really good. All right, I don't know how much time we have left, so I'm going to ask 5. Perfect. Thank you, Jen. All right, there are 3 things that I want to ask you about. I wonder whether they resonate with you differently today than when you were shooting the film. You said you were shooting the spring of 24, right? All right. 1, America's historical ambivalence about immigrant labor and how we treat immigrants. 2, the power of fire, because. Thanks. But no, I mean, because I don't know where you were in the process in January of 25, but I certainly, when I was watching the fires, was thinking about that, the LA fires.
Yep.
And 3, our relationship to nature, individually and nationally. Thoughts, go, you have 10 seconds.
Here's the thing, I'm gonna solve all these real quick. No, I think that's what, not to ramble and hitting them as quickly as possible, what struck me about the book in reading it, I didn't have any desire to make a period piece. I wasn't going out to that. But yet, what struck me was how resonant it felt. Not only with our horrible mistreatment of immigrant populations and immigrant labor in this country, and how that continues on to this day, just with a different group of people from what it was in the early 1900s. Also, in respect to the environment and how we seem to have not learned anything in terms of depleting our natural resources in the interest of development and moving forward. And the fires struck into that as well. We actually went up, had a kind of a false start on the movie. We went up to start making it, and we got on the grounds, the producers, department heads, myself, and we landed in Spokane, Washington, Eastern Washington, and the strike shut us down. The strikes were happening at the time. And we were there about a week trying to figure out if we would get to go or not. And in that time, a wildfire struck up in that area. And we actually experienced it. And it was the Medical Lake fires in Eastern Washington. And it was horrible. it's part of their life out there that they deal with. And then we ended up shooting part of the film where it is not only the wildfire scene that we recreated, but also then where the cabin is burned down in that completely ashen landscape is in this area that was destroyed by that fire, which was especially poignant to kind of be in and telling the story. So the book felt very resonant, also in a sad way that we don't seem to be able to learn how to move forward.
Humans.
What are you gonna do with them?
Yeah. Can't live with them. Can't live with them. All right, thank you for that. And we're not.
I'm sorry I don't have better answers.
No. I didn't expect solutions. Responses are great. All right, we're not done yet. I do want to slightly, or close near us, get closer towards closing with Dennis Johnson's 3 rules to write by. Write naked, that means to write what you would never say. Write in blood, as if ink is so precious you can't waste it. Write in exile, as if you were never going to get home again and you have to call back every detail. Clint, you said you have those written down on your desk. I think you have them somewhere on your wall. You're close to your writing.
Clint took them literally the first one.
The first screen was really weird, really strange. Like, yeah, everybody on the team was like, "Don't do that again."
Yeah.
This is Joel Edgerton.
It was metaphor, Clint. It was supposed to be metaphor.
I understand that now.
But I will just say that for my money, this film takes all 3 of those, I think, to their maximum impact. It does feel to me like it's true to all 3 of those, written naked and raw, in blood, as if it's so precious you can't waste a moment, and in exile, as if you're never going to get home again and you have to call back every detail. I think this just does a phenomenal job of calling back every detail of Grainier's life, of Johnson's book, but it inspires, I think, all of us to take note and take better note, to be better noticers. Would you give our guests a hand, please? Thank you.